So this is actually an end of an era. Roughly 5 years I've been doing this now, sort of around the pandemic is when I started. And by end of the era, I mean, this is the last video that I will be doing with this camera. I will be having a fancy new 4K camera, so we'll see how this turns out. The next video you might see with my beautiful face on it might be in crisp 4K. We'll see how that goes. But Canon EOS 4OD, you were not built for this, so thank you for handling all these videos 5 years down the line. But let's go out with a bang and talk about this banger of a show. Hello and welcome to FTTR, I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about DEFY and PROGRESS Onslaught, a double-header show which aired its first night yesterday from New York City. And I want to talk about some of the matches on this card because this had some really good pro wrestling on it, and you should probably check out a lot of these matches. But before we dive into this, please subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts down below, and I'll try and apply to every single one of them as we dive into this, because it is a busy old weekend of pro wrestling. We have this double header, we've got Survivor Series, there's a lot of stuff coming up right now. But DEFY and PROGRESS, I was fortunate enough to go to one of their double header shows on All In Weekend last year, the Splendid and Vile and the PROGRESS show, whose name it's Clobbering Time, and it was a really good show. Kenta versus Mark Haskins was really, really good. Really enjoyed that. And DEFY, sort of this working agreement that they've got going on with PROGRESS is really good. I love seeing companies work with each other. It's always awesome. It means we get guys like Kenta coming across to the UK and defending the DEFY Championship, and Marina Shafir coming across and defending the DEFY Women's Championship. So you get this big wave of promotion. And when some of the matches were announced for this show, I was like, okay, we're not playing around. We've got Mustafa Ali versus Cara Noir. We've got Kevin Knight versus Luke Jacobs. We have got Casey Navarro versus man like Darius, Rhio versus Zayda Steel. This was a stacked old card for the first night, and I think watching it, because I was fortunate enough to watch it live, I'm going to say this really delivered. I think it had a little bit in the middle that I wasn't too keen on, but I think it sort of built up and got better and better and better and better as the show went on. But yeah, there was a little dip in the middle that wasn't necessarily for me, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I think overall this had some really, really good matches on it. One in particular that really stole the show for me, and I want to see more of down the line, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But we will start with the opening match. I'm going to go through every match, every angle, everything that happened on this show, and give you my thoughts the way a review works, starting with the opening match, which was Los Desperados taking on the main event, Jay Leon and Midas Black versus Ares and Gringo Loco. This was really, really fun. This was a fun tag match. I just love watching Gringo Loco. Gringo Loco does things in the ring which are just absolute insanity. They're absolute insanity to me. And he was the highlight of the match for me. He did an awesome sit-out powerbomb from the top rope, which kind of has to be seen to be believed, because me saying that doesn't do justice of how perfectly executed it was. But yeah, this was just fun tag team wrestling. Like, there was no other tag team matches on this card, so having this be a very athletic, very fun, very hot tag team match to open, I think was a really good decision. And Los Desperados picked up the win, meaning Gringo Loco picked up the win for his team. And yeah, I think that's completely fine. That's completely fine. And yeah, this was a really enjoyable match. Not mind-blowing, but really, really fun. Next up for the DEFY Women's Championship, we got Marina Shafir taking on Allie Katch. I really liked this. I thought this was really, really good. I think Marina Shafir is so underrated. Like, her presence is just unmatched. She has this, I hate saying it because everyone says it about everyone, but she does have this aura about her, which is, I'm hard as nails and I'm going to kill you. And pairing that up with Allie Katch, I thought worked wonders. They had a really interesting pairing here. Their dynamic was really, really cool. Marina Shafir is the badass. Allie Katch is a little bit more fun, but when you switch Allie Katch on and she starts, headbutting you, that's when you know you're in for something. And you got some really cool spots here, particularly that headbutt at the end. You had the two. You had Allie Katch strike Marina Shafir, and Marina Shafir's like, do you know who I am? You know who I am. And then she just unloads on her, manages to lock in the Mother's Milk, which I'm not sold on as a finisher name. Like, it's a cool move. I really like it, like the inverted chokehold. It looks really, really sick. I don't know about the name The Mother's Milk, though. Hearing it on commentary, I was a bit like, I don't know how to feel about that. But this was really, really fun. Really good. Marina Shafir won. She made Allie Katch pass out. Really cool. I really like this. Then we did dip into the bit of the show that I wasn't too keen on. We had Tate Mayfair's come out, and I love Tate Mayfair's. I think Tate Mayfair's is incredible. He's so, so good at building heat and at wrestling in general. And him coming out, cutting a heel promo was really, really cool. He had his open challenge, and it was against Homicide. Now, I used to watch TNA vaguely, like when it was on Bravo here in the UK, but I'm not a big, not fan, I just don't know much about Homicide, so that didn't really get like the reaction out of me that maybe it was other people in the building or other people watching got. But this was just sort of there. Like, they had a fun brawl. They had Tate getting chucked around the outside, and then it eventually led to Tate getting counted out, just refusing to get in the ring with Homicide. And I was a bit like, I'm not sure about that. Maybe we'll get some sort of blow off at the next show on the doubleheader. But yeah, this didn't really hit for me. It was about 5 minutes. I was like, could have done without it. Then for the Progress Proteus Championship match, we had Simon Miller defending his title in another open challenge against Dark STG. Now, Dark STG is a cool looking man. He looks like a badass. He looks like the Hulk 8 Demon Finn Balor is the best way I can put it. And they had a fun 5-minute match. Like, this was sort of built around Simon saying he wasn't expecting this, and he put this over on commentary when he was on commentary later in the night, sort of saying that, yeah, he wasn't expecting this because Dark STG is a big, powerful man, and he got his big power moves in. He battered around Simon for a little bit, but then Simon got the upper hand. He managed to hit 2 spears, 2 ups and downs, and that was just enough to put away Dark STG for the win. It was fine. It was completely fine. Simon's got one of the best spears in the game. Really love Simon's spear. But yeah, this was totally fine. This was like, there's no other way I can say it than fine. It was fine. But fine isn't necessarily bad. Okay? It was just fine. I do feel like this was where the show really, really got going, and you had great match after great match after great match after great match after great match, because you got Rhio defending the Progress Women's Championship against Zayda Steel. I don't know anything about Zayda Steel other than she's part of the WWE ID project system, whatever you want to call it. And obviously know a lot about Rhio, because Rhio is amazing. And they had a really, really good match. This was really great because Rhio is just a badass. She's a badass, and that was played up in the beginning of this match. You had Zayda Steel just pretty much getting battered by Rhio and then having to make like sneaky shots or really quick counters to sort of get the upper hand. Like, she hit a lung blower from the middle rope like a hanging one, you know what I mean, like a Randy Orton DDT, but a code breaker. Hit one of them and managed to get the upper hand a little bit. They were brawling around the outside of the ring, and then it got into this really cool final sequence where they were just going back and forth, and Zayda Steel, who hadn't been presented as like equally as badass, like Rhio was the imposing babyface champion here, going up against a more chicken S heel kind of thing. But Zayda Steel was really holding her own. She was really laying in some of those strikes and got into some really good offense against Rhio. But Rhio ultimately put her away with a submission hold. I loved it. I thought this was really, really good. A great showcase for Zayda Steel, great showcase for Rhio. And I think both women went out there with something to prove, and they really, really did, because this was fantastic. I really, really loved this match. Then we got probably my favourite match of the night, which was Casey Navarro versus Man Like DeReiss. I loved this match so much. This was so unbelievably good, and I was expecting it to be good because it's Casey Navarro and it's Man Like DeReiss, but I wasn't expecting it to be match of the night on a card that has Mustafa Ali and Cara Noir on it. But they went out there and they tore the goddamn house down, because this had character, this had high spots, this had fast-paced action, this had everything you want. I like seeing Casey Navarro as a heel. Last time I saw him, he was a babyface over in Progress, but being this arrogant heel and playing up on commentary that this character change is potentially getting him wins, I thought was really cool. DeReiss obviously has a chip on his shoulder from what's been happening with Luke Jacobs, Leon Slater over in Progress. So seeing them go out there both with something to prove and just batter each other was awesome. It was so good. Casey Navarro is so quick and his counters are just insane. Man Like DeReiss, the Matrix Cutter will never not be a sight to behold. It's one of my favourite moves in the industry right now when he kips up straight into a cutter. It looks so crisp. And ultimately, there was a great near fall off a frog splash from Casey Navarro. That was really, really close, but Man Like DeReiss managed to get the win clean as a whistle by hitting the 450. It was awesome. This was so good. Match of the night for me. This is one, please go out of your way to check out, because both these guys put on one hell of a show. And yeah, one of my favourite matches I've seen in a while. This really, really surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. Next up, we got Mustafa Ali taking on Cara Noir. Now, this is a match I have been dreaming of, because Cara Noir is one of my favourite wrestlers in the world. Mustafa Ali, one of my favourite wrestlers in the world. And I was just over the moon when I saw this was announced. This was, again, just Cara Noir matches tell stories like no other. And this was like a mix of respect, a mix of toying with one another, and then Mustafa Ali coming out and having to do whatever he can to pick up the win, whether that be targeting the broken foot of Cara Noir or rolling Cara Noir up and getting a really quick win over him. Like, this was a match that I felt could have gone longer, but the way it was executed, it was almost like a last desperation gasp for Mustafa Ali to pull out this Hurricane Rana and pin Cara Noir to the mat, because he couldn't really keep Cara Noir down. And that is the story of Cara Noir. You cannot keep Cara Noir down. He is the unbreakable Cara Noir. And I really loved how that was told in here. It was eventually like, it was slowly building up. It was set up on commentary that Mustafa Ali was going for the leg and going for the foot. But it wasn't until he stomped on the foot of Cara Noir that you were like, okay, he's switched it up now. And he's going to be destroying, he's going to be targeting that limb. That was what I really loved about this. This was like, it felt like a chess match leading to that final scramble in which Mustafa Ali manages to roll up Cara Noir and get the 1-2-3. No one lost anything with this. There was a big sign of respect at the end. Mustafa Ali cut a promo saying about how obviously Cara Noir has influenced people here in the US and they all want to face him. They shook hands after the match. Great sign of sportsmanship. And yeah, this was really, really good. I think just Cara Noir is just on this roll, this absolute tear through the indie scene right now of putting on great match after great match. And yeah, pairing him with Mustafa Ali, inspired choice. This was really, really good. And I hope there's another one in the tank somewhere. There is nothing I want more than to see Luke Jacobs in a New Japan ring, because the main event of this show was for the Progress World title, and it was Luke Jacobs versus Kevin Knight. This was so hard hitting, so brutal and fast paced that I just need to see this style from Luke Jacobs over in a New Japan ring. That is what I need. Like, Kevin Knight is obviously IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, IWGP Junior Tag Champion. So seeing him paired with Luke, whose style is just mauling people, strong strikes, strong grapples, just absolutely ruthless stuff. Pairing him with someone who's been in New Japan and is a current champion in New Japan, I was like, this is what I want to see, because this was just a hard-hitting, brutal affair. It started off with a few headlocks, but then it eventually just got into, no, we're going to strike each other. We're going to destroy each other. And they started chopping each other. Luke's chest was so red from some of these chops from Kevin Knight. And they just destroyed each other. We got a kick out at one spot from Kevin Knight, which is what I love to see. But Luke eventually getting the win after this hard-fought war made all the sense in the world. He absolutely clocked Kevin Knight numerous times with these rolling elbow strikes, and they just kept going back and forth with the rolling elbows, but it was eventually the lariat that managed to put him away. This was so good. This was so good. This was like a match you would see on a New Japan show, just in a Defy ring. So I'd highly recommend you check this out if you like New Japan or you like Japanese wrestling, to see what these guys bring to that style, because Luke is just fantastic. You've got to get Luke in the ring with like a Shingo Takagi at some point, because that would just absolutely kill. And Kevin Knight, I don't know much about Kevin Knight, but my God, did he hold his own against Luke. Like, this was a match of equals. Both men went out there and were just like, we're just gonna hit each other, and we're gonna hit each other really hard and make it look as authentic as possible. And this felt so authentic and real. And yeah, I was a huge fan of this main event. It was really, really awesome, and I'd highly recommend you check it out. So those are my overall thoughts on Defy X Progress Onslaught. Overall, I'd give the show 4 out of 5. I do think it dipped in the middle, as I said at the opening, but I think in terms of match quality, the last 4 matches was so good. They were really, really great, and I'd highly recommend you go out of your way to check those out, particularly Luke versus Kevin Knight and Man Like Doris versus Casey Navarro. They were probably my 2 favourite matches of the night. So yeah, please go out of your way, check out the show. 4 out of 5 from me. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.